Hi guys, it's Arsh Ellahi, and in today's video we're going to be talking about joint venture partnerships and the do's and don'ts, how you can do this as a successful strategy, and if you implement it correctly and avoid the mistakes, how you can make a lot of money and become financially free. Before we do that, I need a small favour from you. If you wouldn't mind pressing the subscribe button and hitting the notification bell, every time I release a video you get notified of it. So let's get moving on. What is a joint venture partnership? This is where two people who may or may not already know each other come together and create a business for the benefit of a mutual benefit. So it could be in terms of property that a property investor may have a deal, but they may not have the funds to do the deal. So this is where they reach out to people within their community, whether they're friends, their family, their work colleagues, or even other property investors, and say, guys, I've got a deal, but would you like to fund it? And you'll probably see a lot of this on social media channels. You see lots of it in Facebook groups, Instagram. You get lots of people reaching out, say, have you got funds? I can give you a specific return. That's the kind of example. And what they're doing is reaching out and say, guys, if you've got the funds, I've got the property, can we work together? And it could be mutually benefit for everyone involved. Now, that's the best case scenario. I'm going to give you the do's and the don'ts. Before we do that, you've got to kind of realize that a joint venture, in essence, you're going into business with someone. So you need to proceed with caution. And I say this in the best light possible, because when you go into business with someone with the best will in the world, it will go extremely well and both parties will do really well. And as a result, that could be the start of a fruitful relationship. However, there will be scenarios where projects do go wrong. And it could be that the project overruns. It could be that the project hasn't achieved what it was meant to achieve. So you always need to have a look at a plan B and understand what is plan B. And when you create a joint venture, or when you start speaking to someone about creating a joint venture partnership, you should create what is called a joint venture partnership document, or let's say a contract, or if you want to call it a terms of business. Now, I'll refer to it as a terms of business because in that terms of business, what it actually is stating is that you're coming together. You're both coming together, and it's equally going to state in there what you both bring to the table. Now, this is what's called the roles of what each party does. So it could be that this property investor has to bring the property to the table. As well as that, they have to project manage it, which means that their roles may be that they may need to find a decent builder, they may need to project manage it, it's going to have to run over a certain time. And the other investor is specifically very much hands-off, but just bringing money to the table. That's quite standard. So the person bringing the money is generally a silent partner or a silent director of the joint venture partnership. I've done a couple of joint ventures where I have very much been the silent partner. I don't get involved in the day-to-day running. I have a general catch-up with the guys, perhaps once a week, sometimes once a fortnight, in some scenarios once a month, just to see how the business is going and making sure that's going in the right direction, just in case it needs some intervention from me. So, why do people do joint ventures? And as I've previously touched on it, because no one is a bottomless pit of cash. So property investors will start looking at other ways that they can raise finance. Going through the traditional method of banks, which means that you need a 25% deposit, then you've got to go through a mortgage valuation, the mortgage application, surveyor's fees, legal fees, etc. There are cheaper ways out there, and if you've ever heard of a term OPM, other people's money, and this is what it refers to as joint ventures. So when you're looking at doing a deal, if you can use other people's money, it will be a cheaper method. It will be a cheaper method of finance than going through to the traditional banks. So have you seen the posts out there? So someone saying, if you've got funds available, I can give you up to 10% a year return on your funds. Just something along those lines. That's what they're basically saying. I'll give you 10% on your funds. So if you lend me £100,000 at the end of the year, or whether it be rolling or back, you'll get £110,000 back, which means that you made 10% on your money. So anyway, how do joint ventures come together? Now, where do you find a joint venture partner? My personal opinion and my personal advice to you would be that you find joint ventures initially in your immediate circle. When we talk about your immediate circle, your immediate network. And the reason why I say that is because these people are going to be people who already have you on their radar. So they're probably seeing you do great things in property and in business. And they think, you know what, I actually want a slice of that. So when you reach out to them, it's not so much of a hard sell. So literally say to them, guys, I've got a new deal. All my funds are tied up in another project right now, and I've got this opportunity which I don't want to pass up on. Would you like to get involved? And so this is where you then start to speak to that person, and we could be talking to friends of yours, could be colleagues of yours, it could be family members of yours. Family members are a great place to start because I appreciate that lots of people don't want to mix family and business together, but if you've got that relationship with your family members, it could be a great way to start because it could be a way where you're actually benefiting, and so both parties benefit, and it remains within family. The negative of doing family members is that if it goes wrong, it could break up the family. So that's just something to bear in mind. And we'll talk about some of the negatives, some of the don'ts that you'd want to do in joint ventures. So we look at friends, family, work colleagues, other investors. So where do we find other investors? You can find them at networking meetings all over the country. So whether you go to something like a BNI, by the way, I'm not promoting these, whether you go to some of the property networking events all over the country, and you'll find people who may have funds but don't have the deals. Whereas what you're bringing to the table is the deal, but you don't have the funds. So it almost seems like a great opportunity to work together. One thing I would say is that if you're working with someone that you're not completely, or you don't know and you're not familiar with, you need to spend some time. Just because they've got the money, I've seen far too many people just almost like jump into bed with the first person that they see that's offering them the money. And this is a recipe for disaster. And the reason why I say that is because you've not really understood much about that investor. You've just jumped at the first pound sign that you've seen. So I've made some notes here. First thing that you've got to understand, you've got to spend time to understand that person and understand whether your values align. When we talk about values aligning, are you both working towards the same goal? There's no point taking funds off someone if their values do not align. And an example of this could be that if this person wants to do if the person lending you the money wants their money back within 12 months, there's no point you trying to use their funds for something that's going to be a long-term strategy, because what ultimately is going to happen is that after the 12 months, they're going to say, well, we need our funds back. And you're going to say, sorry, it's all tied up. And you've not identified this from the outset. You've also got to identify the roles. So who is doing what? And this needs to be put in writing. Who's providing the funds? How long are they providing it for? Under what pretense are they lending you that money? You've then got to identify the style of property, what you're doing with that property, the time frame that you need that money for, and also ideally an exit strategy. How are you going to repay back the investor, and what is the investor going to get in return of that? Is it going to be a level of cash flow from the property if you convert it into a HMO or single let? Are you going to be refinancing to give the money back to the investor? Are you going to be selling the property on for capital gain? And if that's the case, does the investor get part of the capital as well as the equity, or let's call it the profit? Or are they generating cash flow? Or could it be a combination of two? The good thing with a joint venture is that it is all subject to negotiation. When we say that, is that just imagine you're purchasing a property with a mortgage company. Do you dictate the terms like you're dictating it with a joint venture partnership? No chance. Because the mortgage company will say, sorry, here's our terms, you like it or you don't. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. If you do like it, sign on the dotted line. And it varies much like that. So with a joint venture, it is very flexible depending on the parties, and communication is the key. So understanding, what the roles are, understanding the timeframes involved, understanding who's doing what, and more importantly, understanding the contingency, understanding the exit is key. Because one of the things that joint ventures, the investor that's putting their money in, they may be investing it for a period of time, whereas you're hopefully going to do this joint venture well, and as a result of that, they're going to get their funds back, and then they're going to become a repeat business partner for you in other deals that you do. So, final thing to comment on in this video. As you, the property investor that's looking for the deal, do you go off and find the deal first, or do you find the money first? Now, this is the golden question that everyone wants to know. Personally, if it was me, I would go out and find the money first. The reason being is that if you find the deal, you may become constrained to the time frame that you need to do the deal in, and sometimes it does take a few let's just say a few cups of coffee to get the funding in place. So when you meet a person, first you've got to present the opportunity. The person's got to go over that presentation that you're going to give them. Off the back of that, you're then going to probably have another meeting and another meeting and another meeting, so that you've kind of identified whether you're aligned with each other, whether your terms set in terms with each other. And as a result of that, there will be some scenarios where the person with the funds say, you know what, thank you very much, but I don't think this is for me. So that takes time. And don't be put off because one person says no. You'll have to start speaking to multiple people, and it's great to have multiple people who have got funds that want to invest in your business. So go out and find the funds first, because as long as now you've got a list of people that you can call on. So as soon as you see a deal, you literally go to your little black book, call them up and say, hi, I've got this deal. Have you still got the funds available? If so, let's go. And you present them the opportunity, providing that they're happy with it, you've got the funds ready to go. One thing, a golden tip here is stay in contact with all the people that you're speaking to throughout the process. So keep presenting them with the opportunities and let them say whether they're interested or not. And also keep fine tuning what they're after. So and you can try and find a deal according to their requirements as well. So it really is all about communication, understanding who they are, understanding what they're looking for from the deal. And as a result, you can then keep confirming whether this is the right investor for you. So there we have it, guys. Lots to take in. I could have spoken for easily a couple of hours on this subject because joint venture partnerships, one thing I will say is that this video is just purely for advice. If you are doing a joint venture partnership, go to a solicitor and make sure that you get the correct agreement drawn up. Make sure that you speak to the joint venture partner before you start the business and understand that you're both working towards the same goal, because again, it is a business relationship that you are going into. So there we have it, guys. As always, if you want more free content, please go and check me out. You can find me on all social media channels. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter under the handles of Arsh Ellahi. As well as that, I release a new podcast every Tuesday. It's called The Property Rebel. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, just to name a few. And finally, if you are looking for that deal because you've got funds available or you've got a joint venture ready to go, have you downloaded the Property Investor app? It's the UK's first property investment platform, which showcases all kinds of deals all over the country. Whether you're looking for a BMV deal, rent-to-rent deal, lease option deal, service accommodation deal, just to name a few. We've got them all on the app. All you've got to do is go to our website, which is propertyinvestorapp.co.uk, or if you've got a smartphone, go to the App Store and type in Property Investor. It takes 2 minutes to download and register, and you've got over 200 deals right in the palm of your hand, right there. So as always, guys, I wish you all to be safe, well and happy, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Thank you and bye-bye.